Vasek, it's amazing. I think the first time we met was like 15 years ago. Here you are, this kind of young pup on tour, finding your way, figuring it all out. In some ways, it's been a long ride. In other ways, it's kind of flown by. What are you thinking about this week as all of these kind of memories come flooding back?
Yeah, I've obviously made this decision a few months ago and thought it was going to be smooth sailing, but then this week, the last 5 days or so, it really kind of hit me. I thought part of me just couldn't wait to just turn the page, and the tennis takes a lot out of you, especially when you start burning out a little bit physically and mentally, but I'm really gonna miss it. I feel like a lot of those emotions have come out the last week where I'm coming to terms with the fact that this will be my last time on a big court playing in front of a home crowd, and it's something that I'm really going to miss. So still processing it. Can't give you a clear answer, but it's starting to hit me now.
What do you think it's going to be like that night? Whenever the end comes, when the finish line hits, what do you think that's going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an emotional night for sure. I mean, especially with my family being here. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like, um, part of me is excited, and part of me is really sad. I, you know, I'm trying to stay focused at the same time this week to prepare the best I can and go out there and perform well. So I'm trying not to get distracted, but it's impossible not to. So we'll see. It's going to be very, very emotional, and I think the next morning I'll probably be much more relaxed, and I feel like there's a little bit of stress going into this week.
I hear you. There have been so many milestone moments, taking down world number one at Indian Wells, obviously winning the Wimbledon doubles title with Jack, getting to the quarterfinals against Andy the next year, center court. But it's amazing how either representing Canada or playing in Canada just brings out the best in you. Like, I'll never forget the Burditch match
Yeah.
in Montreal in the grandstand. Like, if the fire marshal came that day, they would have thrown everybody out because it was like 3,000 over capacity and like wheeled you to that first top 10 win. And then obviously all the Davis Cups and everything. I know you've been asked a bunch of times, but when you think back to like great moments either in Canada in this tournament or playing for Canada, what is it? What changes?
I mean, playing in Canada, definitely that match against Burditch is the one that comes to mind every single time. I mean, it was my breakthrough event. It was the first big, huge win that I had, and it's just so many more emotions, poured over me. Playing for Canada, the highlight would definitely be winning the Davis Cup, of course. That was in Spain. That wasn't in Canada, unfortunately, but that was extraordinary. I mean, every time I stepped on the court playing for this country, it brought out the best in me for whatever reason. But, I loved playing for this country and playing for my teammates, and just pushed myself to limits I didn't know I had, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it'll be very special, very fitting for me to retire on home soil.
I thought one of the coolest parts of the whole Davis Cup journey was kind of the launch of it. Like, a lot of Canadians didn't really know what it was about. And the fact that in the early days of your career, so many of those ties were in Vancouver. And they're at UBC, and your brothers just bring out the band, right? Literally and figuratively. All their friends and their colleagues, and they have trumpets and the rest. The Frank the Tank and kind of the Pospisil army. But I'll never forget, Vasek. I don't think I've ever told you this. In Belgrade that year, in 2013, get to the semis, Novak, and away it goes. But that night, your brothers invited me out, and I met some people there who had never left Canada. They had never had a passport until they had so much fun at UBC, those first two ties of 2013. They're like, well, we can't miss Belgrade now.
That's cool.
They went out and got a passport so they could come cheer you guys on. Like, when you hear that, think about the impact that makes. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, that's extraordinary. I didn't know that, and I mean, I guess that's the power of sport, right? And that's the power of patriotism, and when your team does well and your country's doing well in a sporting event, it brings people together. And I mean, I think that's an incredible story. Thank you for telling me that, because that's, brings more meaning to the whole journey, and especially that, that year, but playing for Davis Cup, and been very lucky. I mean, I've had such extraordinary fans over the years, and at the end of the day, that's what gave me the most joy, was playing in front of a big crowd and playing in front of people that I felt on the court that genuinely cared about your result and how you were doing. So it's that human connection, which may not feel like it as much when you're playing and you're competing and you're just trying to win, and it's a profession and it's a job. But at the end of the day, that's what what it's all about, and so that's a really cool story.
Throughout your entire journey, family's been front and center, obviously. Dad was your first coach. Growing up in Vernon with the cracks in the public courts and weeds growing out of them,
Yeah.
You couldn't get enough of it. Mom was the driver of the whole thing. Your brothers were playing too. They're all going to be here. How do you articulate just what a major part of the journey they've all been?
It's tough to articulate. I mean, the reality is without their support and without what my dad's sacrifice and my mom and the whole family, it was a family journey, a project. It was a Pospisil project, right? So, yeah, I'm so grateful to them. I don't know how many fathers would do what my dad did, quitting his job for years just to travel with me on a shoestring budget, trying to go through the journey and giving me that opportunity to succeed, and without knowing if I was going to succeed. I mean, I was still, relatively unknown, and didn't, and it was just this pipe dream in some ways, and that's just, I guess, what, determination, perseverance, and, hard work can get you to pretty incredible places. And, I'm without the family support that I had, it would have been impossible, just for obvious reasons.
At the end, when you reflect, you think about all the good times, right? You think about the Wimbledons, you think about the Davis Cups, wow, I was able to compete in multiple Olympic Games. But there's also hardship, like the reality of the tennis tour is that it's a grind, and it's not just injury. Like, you were kind of on your way, top 25, 2014 when the back went. But I remember somewhere along the way, you opening up about the mental health side of it and just how much of a challenge that was. You were very forthcoming to people about the realities of all of this. Why was that important to you?
Well, it's I think it's always important to be honest and open and upfront about things. If people ask you, you don't how amazing everything is. Of course, there's incredible moments that I'm very grateful for, thankful for the results that I've had, and that we spoke about. But honestly, I was reflecting on this the other day. I'm most grateful for the low points of my career, because I grew so much as a person and learned so much about myself, and that's what builds character. I mean, when you go through the tough times and you persevere through those moments, it turned me into who I am today. So I've just think the journey of tennis is so many ups and downs. It's very, very tough being away from friends and family pretty much 11 months of the year. The high stress environment that you're in, week in and week out, pretty much nonstop, a highly competitive environment. It does drain you out, but it makes you strong, and I think it sets you up well for, life after tennis, for whatever it is. So I think I find myself very fortunate to have gone into a sport that teaches you so much so young.
So what'd you learn about yourself?
Well, you know what I learned? I learned that on the positive side, you learn what you're capable of, and you learn that even when you feel like you're hitting a wall of some sort, whatever it is, whether it's physical, mental, whatever, that you can overcome any of that stuff, right? So it's mindset, it's persevering through that, and then that gives you confidence. That gives you confidence not only as an athlete, but it gives you confidence as a person going through life, and knowing that you can overcome anything that comes your way. So I learned the strength that I had, which maybe coming, starting at a younger age, maybe I would say I had lower confidence than perhaps most, for whatever reason that might be, and then that evolved into, someone that's extremely comfortable in their skin and feel like I can set my mind to whatever it is I want to set my mind to and accomplish great things. So, great journey.
Great journey. You have all these sights set on great things you want to do. You did that in tennis. That's just one chapter of this whole thing. I like asking people this question: what do you want to do when you grow up? You've been playing a kid's game for the last 20 years. What happens on whatever morning when it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to go to the tennis court today. I don't need treatment today. I don't need to do my physio today. What do you want to do next?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'll definitely have to reinvent myself a little bit because tennis is, I mean, that's my identity, right? That's who I am. That's who I've been my whole life. I started playing tennis when I started walking, and suddenly, morning after my last match, I'll no longer be a tennis player. So, I'm very passionate about, business. I've gotten involved in that a little bit the last 4 or 5 years. It's something I've always been drawn to, entrepreneurship and so we'll see. But I also, want to have a family one day, and there's just so much more to life than the sport. At the same time, it is what I know best, and I am very passionate about the sport even to this day. And so I'm sure I'll stay close to the sport. But at the same time, there's so much more to explore and so many exciting things that, like I said, you can accomplish if you set your mind to. So I think the most important thing is following your passion. If you're passionate about something, and I have some passions outside of tennis now, so I'll pursue those and see what happens from there, where that takes me.
You know where passion can take you in sport, and sports is about eras and generations. Doesn't matter what sport we're talking about. So for you, like, you grow up, and Daniel Nestor is kind of the North Star for Canadian tennis, and you end up being his doubles partner all these years, Olympics, Davis Cups, from time to time on tour. And now this kind of next generation behind you, it's kind of passing the torch, so to speak. And there are some young kids out there in development programs, whatever, who grew up watching you. What is, like, as a lasting legacy in this sport for Canadian tennis, what does it mean to you to see pros on tour today who grew up watching you and young kids coming up who want to kind of be like you, being out there on the tennis court?
Yeah, it means everything. I mean, I remember putting myself in their shoes when I was young. What I would do to even speak to a professional or let alone hit some balls with them on the court. It would be a dream come true. And when I started to actually have those opportunities to play with people that I looked up to, what that did for me was incredible. So to be in a position where I might have some young players looking up to me or having watched me play and trying to emulate some of my strokes maybe or my game. It's very cool. It's kind of it's a bit of like a pinch me moment, that's for sure. I mean, it's easy to lose sight of that stuff as you go through this journey, but that's really what it's all about, right? It's about inspiring people, the young generation. I'll always have a soft spot for young kids that may be less fortunate or have fewer resources and have a dream and want to pursue a passion or a goal like being a professional tennis player. So I'll try to stay close to the sport, mostly for that reason.
Awesome journey, man.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Thanks, that was great.